There was once a boy who walked through life with his head down to avoid offending others. Not because he was shy, but because the world had taught him his presence did not matter. His name was Junpei Yoshino. He wasn't cursed. He wasn't chosen by fate. He wasn't special. He was just kind. And that is why his life hurt so much. Every morning, Junpei went to his classroom already tired. Not from studying or work, but from being somewhere where every smile was fake and every laughter seemed to happen at him, not with him. They didn't just bully him, they erased him. Teachers looked away. Students used him as a joke. And Junpei learned the most dangerous lesson a child can learn. If I disappear, nobody will care. So he became quiet, invisible, small. But when Junpei went home, the world softened. His mother greeted him with laughter, with warmth, with simple love. She never saw him as weak. She never saw him as strange. To her, Junpei was perfect. That small apartment was the only place Junpei could breathe. It was the only place where he felt alive. One night, Junpei came home. The room was dark, too dark. Then he found her, his mother, dead. The only light in his life gone. No scream could surface from him. Only silence. Because sometimes pain is so heavy it does not let you cry. That's when Mahito appeared. Not as a monster, but as a friend. He listened, he understood, and he spoke to Junpei like the world never had. He told Junpei that his pain mattered, that his suffering made him special, and that revenge could be justice. And Junpei believed him. When you're drowning, you don't question the hand that reaches out. Then Junpei met Yuji. For the first time, someone laughed with him, not at him. They watched movies, they talked, they felt like normal kids. Junpei began to picture a future again. He started to believe life didn't have to hurt forever. And that's when Mahito took everything, right in front of Yuji, just as Junpei was starting to hope. Mahito twisted Junpei's body into something inhuman. Junpei didn't even understand what was happening. He only looked at Yuji, scared, confused, still trying to hold on. And then he died, not as a villain, not as a hero, but as a boy who just wanted the pain to stop. Junpei's story hurts because it's real. There are Junpeis everywhere. Quiet kids, lonely kids, gentle kids, people who don't need to be saved by power but by kindness. And sometimes the world is too cruel to give them that chance. Junpei didn't lose because he was weak. He lost because the world failed him. And that is the cruelest tragedy of all. Yuta Okatsu there had once been a time when Yuta Okatsu didn't want to be alive. It wasn't because he was weak or even scared of dying. He hurt with every breath. The world would be better without him, he thought. And for a long while, he truly did believe that. Yuta had been a gentle, quiet, kind boy, the kind of boy who apologized when others hurt him. Then there was Rika. She meant everything to him. They had promised to marry each other. Two kids who believed the future would be bright. Then the accident happened. A truck, a scream. In one moment, everything seemed to end. But it didn't. Rika stayed with him, bound to Yuta by grief, love, and regret. Not as a girl he loved, but as something scary. A curse. The people didn't see Yuta. They saw Rika. Walls collapsed, voices called out, and everywhere he went, fear pursued him. Yuta began to think something was wrong with himself, that he was defective, his existence a cause of agony. So he withdrew. He ceased to want to live because love had become imprisonment. When Yuta first arrives at Jujutsu High, he is already tired. Not from physical work, but from emotion. Every student fears him. Every teacher watches him closely. He doesn't even feel like a person. He feels like a disaster waiting to happen. And Yuta believes them. He tells himself, if I disappear, maybe everyone will be safe. Then something unexpected happened. He meets people who stay, Maki, Panda, Inumaki. They don't run. They treat him like he belonged. For the first time since Rika died, Yuta feels human again. He laughs. He trains. He starts to imagine a life beyond guilt. But Rika is still there, watching, protecting, hurting anyone who gets too close. Yuta finally learns the truth. Rika isn't the curse. He is. His grief, his love, his inability to let go. Yuta tied Rika to himself, not with hate but with devotion. That realization destroys him, because it means the pain was never fate. It was his heart. When the final battle comes, Yuta makes a choice. He stops clinging. He stops begging. He lets Rika go. Not because it's easy, but because love should not lock the person you care about. And in that moment, Yuta finally grows. Not in power, in peace. Yuta survives, but the scars stay. He carries Rika's memory everywhere. He carries the knowledge that love can destroy, and the strength to keep loving anyway. That is his real curse, and his real strength. Yuta's life teaches us something painful. Love is the strongest thing in the world, and the most dangerous, because when it breaks, it can break break you, but if you survive it, you become someone unstoppable. Toji Fushiguro, before he was called the Sorcerer Killer, before people feared his name, he was a boy who never fit into anything. Not into his family, not into the jujutsu world, not even into his own skin. Toji's life isn't a tale of power, it's a tale of rejection. He was born into the Zenin clan, a clan obsessed with cursed energy, bloodlines, and tradition, and Toji had none of that. No cursed energy, no talent, no future. In a family where power defines your worth, he seemed worthless from the very beginning. They teased him, abused him, and treated him like a flaw that should never have existed. Imagine learning that your own bloodline hates you. That was Toji's childhood. So he did what a broken child does. He disappeared. Not physically, mind you, emotionally. He shut down everything that could hurt him: hope, attachment, and trust. He learned to survive alone. He learned love only brings pain. That lesson shaped his remaining life. For a short period, Toji was happy. He fell in love. He had a home. He had a child. For the first time in his life, he wasn't judged for cursed energy. He was loved for simply being himself. Then it all vanished. His wife died. The world fell apart again. After that, Toji ran from grief, from being a father, from responsibility. He sold Megumi out to the Zenin clan, the very family that ruined him, not because he was an evil man, but because he was irreparably broken. He thought Megumi would be safer without him, and that thought is its own torture. Toji made himself a weapon, a mercenary, a ghost. He killed sorcerers, not because he hated them, but because killing was all the world had ever taught him to do. Power didn't save Toji, it only made him lonelier. When Toji fights Gojo, something shifts. For the first time, he meets someone who represents everything he was denied: power, recognition, destiny. And he loses. Before he dies, Toji thinks about his son. For the first time in years, he chooses something good. He leaves Megumi's future with Gojo. Then he dies, not as a killer, but as a father who did one right thing. Toji's life is a question. What happens if the world wounds a child and then never lets him heal? Sometimes that child grows into a man who feels he doesn't deserve to live. Toji was never evil. He was just never loved. And sometimes that is the deepest, most painful curse of all. Nanami, some people scream in pain in Jujutsu kaisen. Nanami doesn't. He just gets tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of watching people die. Tired of pretending the world is fair. That quiet exhaustion makes his story hit harder than most. Nanami entered the world of Jujutsu as a student, young and full of hope, thinking effort would be enough. Then he watched his partner die, a friend laughing with him one moment, gone the next. That was Nanami's first lesson. In this world, good intentions don't protect anyone. So Nanami left. He joined a normal company, wore a suit, earned money, and tried to live the life everyone else chased. But something was wrong. The work felt empty, the smiles fake, the numbers not saying much. And with each passing day, he felt himself fading. For one thing, escaping the battlefield doesn't heal the war inside of you. Nanami returns to Jujutsu, not out of love for it, but simply because someone has to do the work, someone has to protect the children, and someone has to bear the burden. Nanami chooses to suffer so others won't have to. When Nanami encounters Yuji, something clicks. He sees in him the innocence he once had, too, and he does all in his power to preserve it. Because if Yuji can survive this world without breaking, then maybe his own pain was worth it. Then Shibuya happens. Nanami walks through hell, burned, bleeding, exhausted. Yet, he keeps going because quitting isn't an option when others depend on you. Then Mahito appears. Nanami's body finally gives out, but his mind stays calm. His last thoughts aren't of fear. They're of hope for Yuji. Nanami does not die chasing glory. He dies working, protecting, and enduring, which is what makes the story real. Nanami's life teaches this. Sometimes the bravest people are not the loudest. They are the ones that get up every day, even when they are tired of everything. Itadori was meant to live an average life. Go to school, laugh with friends, visit his grandfather, grow up slowly. That life ends the night he eats Sukuna's finger. Not because he wants power, but because someone would die and Yuji wouldn't let that happen. From then on, Yuji stops being a boy. He is a container for death. When Sukuna moves inside him, then someone else pays the price. Yuji knows it, he feels it, he hears screams in his sleep. The Shibuya incident kills thousands. Sukuna does that using Yuji's body. Yuji survives, and that survival becomes his punishment. Junpei dies in front of him. Nanami dies trusting him. Nobara falls and never comes back the same. Every loss writes another line line inside Yuji's heart. If I were stronger, they would still be alive. But Yuji doesn't collapse. He keeps going. Not because he is fearless, but because stopping would mean acknowledging the deaths were for nothing. Yuji becomes a target of execution. The very people he fights for want him dead. He accepts it, not with anger, with silence, because in Yuji's mind, his life is already paid for by the lives he failed to save. Yuji keeps smiling, keeps helping strangers, keeps fighting curses. He keeps believing people deserve to be saved, even when there's no reason to believe it anymore. That is his torture, to stay kind in a world that has been cruel to him. Yuji isn't tortured by enemies. He is tortured by his own heart, by knowing that he is alive while so many others are not, by thinking his life matters because of others, and yet he keeps moving forward. Yuji Itadori's life shows us something scary and beautiful. The strongest people aren't the ones who suffer the least. They are the ones who carry the most and still go on. Nobara Kujisaki, the first time Nobara showed up on page and screen, she seemed like someone who wouldn't suffer. She was loud, sharp, fearless, unapologetically herself. But sometimes the brightest shines come from the deepest wound. Nobara did not grow up in a city. She grew up in a village that suffocated her, a place where everyone watched each other, judged each other, and crushed anything that dared to be different. Nobara was different, and the village made sure she felt it. They mocked her, left her out, trying to shrink her until she fit their little world. So Nobara learned early, if the world wants me small, I will be sharp. Then there was Saori, the one person who treated Nobara like she mattered. They laughed, they dreamed, they believed the world could be bigger than that village. Then Saori disappeared. Not in a dramatic way, she was just gone, and the village pretended it never happened. That was Nobara's first lesson in loss. Sometimes the world doesn't care who you lose. Nobara leaves the village, not because she hates the village, but because staying there would kill her spirit. She goes to Tokyo with only her pride and her fire. She tells herself that she doesn't need anyone, but in reality, she is running away from loneliness. At Jujutsu High, Nobara has finally found her people. Nobara is again laughing loudly. She fights with all her might. She feels alive. For the first time, she belongs. Then Shibuya happens. Nobara fights bravely with no fear. Then she meets Mahito. Then her own body breaks apart. Her last moments aren't full of rage. They're filled with regret because she realizes she was happy, and happiness makes loss hurt more. Nobara's tragedy isn't about weakness. It's about an interruption, a life finally starting and then stopping suddenly. No end, no resolution, just silence. Nobara's life teaches us something important. Sometimes strength isn't about surviving the storm. Sometimes it's about not letting yourself become small, even when the storm takes everything. Maki Zenin Maki was born into a powerful clan, but the moment she was born, they decided she was worthless. No cursed energy, no future. In the Zenin clan, power was the one thing that mattered above all else. Maki had none of it. For her, her childhood was not a home, it was a battlefield. Every hallway told her that she was a mistake. Every relative told her that she didn't belong there. They belittled her, they hurt her, and they only trained her to die for them. And the worst, her very own family enjoyed it. The only person who ever truly loved Maki was her twin sister, Mai. Two girls caught in a cage called family. They dreamed of escape. Maki left first, not because she was selfish, but because staying would have killed her soul. Mai stayed behind, and the world punished them both for it. The clan betrayed Maki. They killed Mai. Mai's last words weren't comfort. They were a command, destroy everything. So Maki did. She slaughtered the entire Zenin clan, not out of hate, out of emptiness, because her heart had been broken. Maki didn't grow strong to protect. She grew strong to survive. And sometimes, survival means burning everything behind you. Maki's life is a lesson in something really scary. When the world breaks you long enough, either you disappear or you become unstoppable. Geto until the dark times. Suguru Geto was a kind soul. He smiled easily and protected people and believed that there could always be something more. He is the kind of person you can trust absolutely, and that's why his fall hurts so much. Geto grew up thinking sorcerers exist to help the weak. He fought the curses not for glory, but because he strongly believed people deserve to live. With Gojo, he thought they could change the world. They were strong, they were young, they were hopeful. Then came the missions. Endless, bloody, cruel. Curses born from human hate, fear, and greed. And every time Geto saved people, the same people would treat him as if he was nothing. They feared him, used him, and disregarded his pain. The world he had protected never protected him. Riko was supposed to live. live. She was a child, laughed, and dreamed, and she was murdered in front of him. Something inside him broke after that, and he started asking himself, why are we protecting the ones who create the curses that destroy this world? He had tried to ignore the question, but it followed him through every mission, every death, every scream. Then he was sent to a village where 2 young sorcerer girls were locked in cages, beaten, and tortured, out of fear from the villagers. Geto killed the whole village, not in anger, but with clarity. He saw that the world was rotten. Geto left the world of jujutsu not because he loved destruction, but because he stopped believing that humans deserved to be saved. He wanted to build a new world, even if it made him a monster. Geto didn't fall into darkness. Cruelty, injustice, and this world that took his kindness away pushed him into it. Suguru Geto's life teaches a painful truth. Sometimes the people who care the most are the ones who break the hardest. Gojo people hail Satoru Gojo as a god, strong, unbeatable, untouchable, unbreakable. But what people don't really catch is how lonely it can get when you stand at the top with nobody beside you. Gojo's life isn't about power, it's about what power costs. Gojo was born special, the 6 eyes, limitless, a jujutsu world miracle. But being special didn't make him happy, it made him isolated. From a very young age, people saw him not as a child, but rather as a tool. He was trained to be the strongest before being allowed to be human. Then came Suguru Geto. For the first time, Gojo wasn't alone. They laughed, fought, and dreamed of changing the world together. Geto wasn't weaker, he was equal, and that made all the difference. Then the mission to protect Riko started. She was innocent, she trusted them, and she believed she would live. And she was murdered in front of Gojo's eyes. On that day, Gojo learned a painful lesson. Being the strongest doesn't mean you can save everyone. After Riko's death, Geto began to change. Gojo felt it, saw it, but couldn't stop him. When Geto finally turned away from humanity, Gojo lost more than a friend. He lost the only person who truly understood him. And the world didn't expect Gojo to save Geto, but to kill him. And in that moment, something inside him broke forever. So Gojo did what lonely people do best. He smiled, he joked, and he acted carefree. For if he ever stopped smiling, the weight of everything he failed to protect would crush him. Gojo became a teacher, not because he liked having authority, but because he wanted his students to get a chance like he never did. He trained them to be strong, but more importantly, he tried to protect their hearts. Then Shibuya happened. Gojo was sealed away, and while he was stuck in the dark, his students fought and died. Nanami, Nobara, thousands of innocent people. And Gojo could do nothing. For the strongest man alive, helplessness is the most painful curse of all. Gojo isn't tormented by enemies. He is tormented by responsibility, knowing the world looks up to him when it falls apart. And sometimes, not even he is enough. Gojo's life teaches us something cruel. Being the strongest does not save you from the pain. Sometimes, all that means is that you will carry it alone. If you like this video, turn on the notification bell and subscribe for more.